Welcome back to Real Talk with Brian and Dan on 1150 KKNW. I'm Brian.
And I'm Dan.
Our next guest is Wilma Peck of Michael's Auto Repair. Michael and Wilma opened the doors to their shop 31 years ago. Starting out was not easy, but Michael knew that over time and with their honesty, integrity, that they could build their business one customer at a time based on trust, fair prices, quality parts, quality workmanship, and extraordinary customer service. 31 years later, they continue to build their business, turning new customers into lifelong relationships. Welcome to the show, Wilma.
Thank you, Brian.
So, can you tell us what you're doing when you're not providing extraordinary customer service?
Sure. So, our family's very involved in drag racing.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yep. So we travel all over, and right now we're just showcasing a nitro nostalgia funny car. That's what our whole family works on it, and the whole family's been raised in drag racing. All the kids have raced. I've raced. My husband's raced.
What's the racing team called?
The new team is called the Instigator.
Oh,
Instigator.
not multiple, just one.
Yeah, the Instigator. That would be my oldest son.
So tell us again what the name, say that again, the funny car, the nostalgia?
Nostalgia.
What is a nostalgia funny car?
It is a car that's back from like 70 and older.
Yeah.
And we run it on nitro. So it's kind of like, I don't know if you watch or if you follow NHRA at all. John Force and them, it's what they raced in the 60s and 70s. So we're limited to pump size. We're limited to different rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty fun.
I went to a drag race 10 years ago. My hearing's almost back now. So it's loud.
Very loud.
Where do you guys
pretty
race?
exciting.
We race, so we're done for the year, but we'll start out next year in Bakersfield at the March meet, and then we'll go to Arizona. We'll hit Seattle twice. We'll be in Boise, Idaho, and then back in Boise and back in Arizona.
Oh, that's fun.
Wow.
That's a great hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a family hobby.
It's a family hobby. It's all the kids were raised in it. I couldn't imagine raising my family any other way. We thrive as a family, and it's kind of cool because now my kids are in their 30s, and other than my youngest is 28, but they're part of the team. Even my daughter works on the car. She works on the right head.
Who's the driver?
The driver is my husband, and my oldest son, he'll start driving here soon. He's got to get licensed, but he's actually partnership with us in the car.
Wow, exciting.
And this car's named after him, the Instigator. Is
It
that what you
is.
said?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's a whole nother story.
So is there one named after your daughter and your other son, or?
No.
No, well, okay. That's another story. You probably don't want to put down on tape. Okay, I got you. Okay, so we always ask, because this is a show about real estate and it's really a show about homes and living in homes. So tell us about the home that you grew up in and maybe a fond memory from that.
So I feel very fortunate. I grew up in a home in a small town called Glendora, California. It's Southern California, right at the base of the foothills. And it was actually a custom home that my father had built.
Awesome.
Right within the middle of the orange groves and all the avocado groves, but absolutely love that house. I think the fondest memory would be just the holidays we had there, my mom cooking, and then I don't know why, but I always think about the grass. My father we always had dichondra.
I don't know what that is.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Type of grass. Yep.
You can't even walk on it in the summer, and if there's one blade of straight grass sticking out of it, we were out there with our pail. We'd have to pick the little grass out. It's horrible, but I remember that.
But your dad loved having it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
that's
kind of a
funny.
special
funny.
grass.
The special grass. Oh, that's a different kind of thing, too.
Yep.
All right. So it's up to you.
How did you and Mike get started in the industry?
So Mike actually started in the industry, funny enough, because our first guest was a photographer. He wanted to be a photographer, and he had a family friend that said, you don't want to do that. And so he was kind of confused what to do. He actually is born and raised in New Zealand, and in New Zealand, it's very trade-oriented.
Right.
So he ended up going to the trades because he loved the American muscle car. So he actually went into the automotive trade, which was a very lengthy program. Back there in New Zealand, they go through 5 years of schooling plus 5 years of on-the-job training at the same time. School during the night, working in the shop during the day. And so he came back here to America, or came to America, and he actually worked at independents. He worked at dealerships, and then he eventually had enough and quit. He ended up going into the pool business, believe it or not, down in Southern California. And we eventually moved up here after our first child was born. and we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to do for our livelihood, so he couldn't do pools because there was no pools up here. So he actually,
That's true.
he started working for someone, and I thought we were going to go broke because it just wasn't cutting it. So we decided to just take a risk and open our own shop. So he opened it 31 years ago and worked all by himself for a while. And at that time, I was in the banking industry, and the rest is history.
And you joined him, and
I joined
ran
him
the
after
business.
we had our third child. I quit working. I retired actually, and then I went in there. I wasn't used to being a stay-at-home mom, so I came into work and just kind of brought my customer service expertise that I had from banking.
Yeah.
And that was that.
That's interesting. So, side note is, Michael, is he a rugby fan?
I don't know.
I think you would know. How long have you been married to him? You would definitely
long
know.
time.
You
You
know.
would definitely know.
You
Just
know.
because New Zealand just lost to England last week, so
Yeah.
he would have said something about that.
No, he didn't say.
Okay.
He didn't.
so-
He's not a fan.
Ah,
Oh, well.
surprising. All right. All right. So you told us you guys have been in business for 31 years, but have you been in the same place for 31 years?
No. So we've been in the location we're in now we've been there for about 16 years, and then we're just a couple blocks away, and we were there at that location for about the same amount of time.
And where are you located?
We're located in Redmond,
Mhm.
right off of Redmond Way and East Lake Sammamish area.
To be specific, folks, if you know where the Blazing Bagels is, it's right near there in Redmond, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Or for our real estate friends, next to Sign Pros.
Yeah.
There you go. Exactly.
Every realtor knows
That's
right where you are now.
Yep, that's where we get all
Perfect.
of our signs. Yep. All right. So, what are the hours of operation?
So we're only open 4 days a week. So we only work Monday through Thursday. We made a decision many years ago, probably about, oh my goodness, maybe about 20 years ago, that we needed to give ourselves and our employees a little bit of life-work balance. It's being a technician is very difficult, very hard on the body. So we decided to go 4/10s, and it works well for us.
Nice. So is an appointment needed?
Oh yes, definitely.
Well, good.
Yeah.
All right. So, I've got a Toyota Camry hybrid. Do you work on those?
We do.
Okay. I also have a Toyota FJ Cruiser. Do you work on those?
We do.
Are we running the list?
I also have a Toyota Corolla. Do you work on those?
We do.
All right.
We love Toyotas.
89 Land Cruiser.
We do.
So
Keep
do I.
going.
Can you tell? Do you work on Fords? I mean,
We do.
probably often, but
Yeah.
I'm just sorry. I'm just
Yeah,
Mercedes.
to my four friends out there.
do.
Good. I need some work.
What cars do you not work on?
We don't work on Ferraris or Maseratis or Teslas. A lot of those, the older Jaguars, they're just hard to get parts for.
Right.
Mhm.
And we want to get the work in and get it out. Nobody wants to have their car hanging around the shop. So
Do you service fleet accounts?
we do. Yeah, we service quite a lot of fleet accounts. A lot of our fleet accounts have the big Isuzu MPR trucks or
Yeah.
your big Sprinter vans.
Mhm.
You have to have a specialized lift for that, one that holds the heavier weight. We do a lot of
Yeah.
landscaping vehicles.
So, what do fleet managers need to know about Mike's Auto Repair?
I think that the most important thing to know is that we treat them just as if they're like a customer with a regular car. So there's no special pricing in regards to, a lot of times your heavier vehicles have higher price tags
Lots of wear and
attached to them.
tear. Yeah.
Well, they have higher price tags because
Oh.
they're bigger vehicles, and we don't do that. The other thing, we know that a fleet customer has to have, I mean, that's their bread and butter. That's how they
Right.
make their money. So we're very good at making sure that those vehicles come in and out and almost have a little bit of special priority.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, in a general sense, what kind of services do you provide?
So we actually provide a lot. So anything from as simple as an oil change, we do brakes, we do any kind of engine work, transmissions, rotating tires, clutches, all your different fluid services. So the only thing that we actually sublet out of our shop would be wheel alignments, and we
Okay.
actually kind of try to micromanage those. We'll send those up the street to Les Schwab. and
Interesting.
then
that's
we'll
close
bring
by,
them
yeah.
back, and so that the customer doesn't even have to take them up there. We'll do it for them.
Where do most of your customers come from?
Most of our customers, believe it or not, come from all over the place. We draw a huge crowd, obviously, from Redmond, Sammamish. We've got Woodinville, Kirkland, Seattle. We have a few that come down from Marysville. So they just kind of come from all over the place. Mercer Island.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, growing up down where I grew up, there was a friend behind us that was our neighborhood mechanic, right?
Mhm.
And we always took our cars there because we knew it was somebody we could trust.
Mhm.
And when I moved to Seattle, there was a problem with one of my cars. One car. I only had the one. And I remember taking it to a place, and they said, well, we think it's this, right? And so I'd spend $350, and as a student, that was a lot of money, right? And then, boom, problem still happening, right? And then later, I had a friend who told me, they said, hey, turn on your heat. That'll help. It was overheating, right? He's like, turn on your heater. It'll help. So I was always driving around with my heater on in order to prevent my car from overheating.
Summertime.
and then somebody said to me, they said, well, maybe your fan isn't coming on. Maybe the fuse is gone in your fan. It was a Jeep Cherokee. And I was like a 97-cent fan, because I think the second thing they had me replace was the thermostat, right, that turns on the water through.
Mhm.
And so the second thing they had me so a friend said, well, check the fuse. So I checked the fuse. It was the fuse in the fan.
That was your fix.
So
Wow.
this mechanic was just bilking me.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you check the fuse first if you're an expert, right, doing that? So I know I'm not the only person that has a story like that, right?
Yeah. I think that, and that's one thing that Mike always says, and he always reminds the technicians, start with the basics.
Right.
Don't try to overshoot it or over diagnose it. Always start with the basics, and that's one of the first things we always check are your fuses, because that's a quick, simple fix, and it makes for a very happy customer when it's just
Right.
a fuse. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think I had to go into debt to fix that car. It was a freaking fuse,
Oh, do I
That
know
had to
that
be
one?
frustrating.
Yeah, that's funny. I remember one of those aha moments when my oldest son, he comes home and he says, Dad, he says, I really get it. What's that? He says, I am driving my car so carefully, like you always told me. Why? I can't afford for it to break. It's
Yeah.
like, with 3 boys, we had some people that were pretty hard on cars until they had to pay for them.
Exactly. We've had to deal
Right.
with those stories where cars will come in and Mike will have to call the parents and say, well, we can tell here that your son or daughter has been driving this way,
Yeah.
or information that we gather from the car. I mean, he's like, these rotors have gotten really hot.
Yeah.
They're doing something out there, or the clutch has been burnt up. It's not because
Jamming on the brakes.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've got 2 new dents on that Camry, and they weren't from me.
Uh-oh.
From the daughter.
Oh, funny.
Number.
So how do our listeners get a hold of you?
So they can get a hold of us 2 ways. They can actually call the office if they want to make an appointment or talk to Mike. And that phone number is 425-869-2419. Or they can also go to our website, which is michaelsautorepair.com. And they can ask questions on the website. And I think one of the things that people really appreciate about Michael is he's so patient on the phone. He'll talk to you and just talk through your issues with you, which is really nice. He spends a lot of time talking to clients.
I think that 410s makes a whole lot of sense because
great.
a lot of people are needing to come later in the evening,
Mhm.
right? And do you guys ever have problems getting people in, or is there a backlog to get a car in just for like a regular servicing?
We're pretty efficient. So in the summertime, we might be a week to 2 weeks out, but we usually run through about 50 cars in those 4 days. And we're actually pretty efficient in everything we do. And
That's great.
Not really.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wilma, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
You are so welcome. Thank you.
For those of you interested in getting those necessary repairs done with Michael's Auto Repair, mention that you heard about them on Real Talk and receive 10% off parts and labor on all services. Wow, you can't beat that. That's a nice
We
offer.
never give a discount, so
Yeah.
no, you can't beat that.
No, that's great. That's great. Say, it pays to be one of our listeners, right?
That's right.
Let's see. Remember that this and other segments of our show are available to watch at our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Eastside Real Estate Team. If you're interested in learning more from these or future guests, join us after the break for some final thoughts and something fun to do this holiday. We'll be right back.